Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Soft Skills Show. Today, I'm so excited because I have a special guest. He is Joy Reis. He's data engineer and architect and CEO of Ternary Data. And of course, he is part of amazing project that we will talk at the end of this conversation. Hi, Joy. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Gio. How are you?
I'm great. You are here today to share
Good.
with us
Yeah,
your
yeah,
experience.
yeah. Good to see you.
Okay, so let's go direct to the point. I want to know everything about behind the scenes about being a data engineer, but related with other data professionals. So, for example, I have noticed that we have a lot of hiring process with new data professionals in many companies because now companies wants become data driven. But in your opinion, companies are really prepared for have these data professionals in the teams because, for example, how to access to the data, there is a protocol, there are policies. So please share your experience about this.
Yeah. So, data engineering it's maybe a newish title, maybe around 2014, 2015 for, I think something that's kind of always existed, but maybe in a new way now. So, basically what a data engineer does is they kind of sit between the systems that generate the data. So these could be applications, run by a software engineering team, and then between that team and data scientists, data analysts who would consume data, and so data engineer sort of sits between those two and makes that data useful from the source systems for the data scientists and data analysts. In a nutshell, that's basically where they sit and who they interact with.
Okay, and one of the things is that data engineer are the architects of that help to the companies to organize the data, to create a very well organized storage for the data.
Mhm.
So I think every data professional in the company is always related with the data engineer of the company.
Yeah, I think so. Like data engineers definitely relate to data scientists and data analysts, and they need to know what the analysts and data scientists want. They also relate to the engineering teams and other teams, stakeholders, the business really in general, where you need to understand, okay, so what do stakeholders want, both upstream and downstream. And so, when you kind of zoom out, it seems like every data role really, you know, interacts to some degree with every other role, in a company. And so I think that's something that seems obvious if you zoom out, but it's very, I guess, inobvious when you kind of look at it role by role, because you only see kind of what's in front of you. So
Yes. Yes, that is something, for example, about the communication between the
mhm.
data professionals. And something that I have noticed is that when there is a newcomer in a team, that, for example, it's not a data team, so it's not a data science team or data analyst team, but for example, a data science inside a team that is not a team of data science. So they arrive and they have maybe a training and onboarding, but something very common is how to access to the data.
Mm.
How could you give us some advice about the newcomers, especially the junior positions? Because
Mm.
when you are senior, you know how to move it, you know how to access or to whom to talk about the
Yeah.
data. But when we are junior, any advice how to approach the data?
Um, I think it really depends on sort of the maturity, the data maturity of a company itself, and maybe the engineering maturity. So, if you're at an early stage company, you're probably, especially if you're junior, you're just expected to know everything and build everything, right? So, accessing data is very much a part of any analyst or data scientist job. But I would say that the way you do it definitely varies by the type of company you're at or organization. And so, If you're at a big company, it's probably well established how you're going to get access. It's like you have to go through a bunch of loopholes, probably fill out forms, all this other stuff to get access because of all the security required. At an early stage place, maybe not as much, but I would say some common things you would need to know about is like how to connect, to a database, whether that's a report or whether that's like your notebook or something. And then also, how to, like, where to find files. That's another big one. So, what other data sources, third-party APIs, but all that really just requires like making sure you have access. And so to kind of bring it back to the soft skills part, I think it also means like you should develop relationships with the people who have access, who control the data and control your access to it. So all too often I see data scientists and analysts sort of assuming that data is just going to be there, but they haven't really figured out who actually holds access to that. And so make good friends with these people. They'll help you a lot in your job. So.
Exactly, because sometimes the data is in the company somewhere, but the newcomer doesn't know where exactly is. Right. And sometimes some projects don't start because of nobody. The new data analyst or the new data scientist doesn't know where this data is located.
Oh, a ton of times. Yeah, well, that happens a lot. It happens a lot. And I mean, it helps, and I mentioned data maturity. I mean, it does help if the company has like maybe a data catalog or something like that, where it at least shows you where data is located and what it means. But I think that you're starting to see more data catalogs popping up. They're normally kind of reserved for larger companies. And, but if your company has one, great. If you're actually, one thing you could do as an analyst or data scientist is suggest implementing a data catalog. I think that would show initiative, that you're a good steward of data, as well as provide, I think, a lot of value to your company. So that's something I would suggest. So if you don't have a data catalog, I would say maybe look at getting one.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that advice. Another important thing is about the fact that how to approach these professionals, for example, a data engineer, because all the time with all the volume of information, the data are always doing things, are always in meetings. Something that I had the opportunity to talk to many data engineers lately, and they told me I'm supposed to build the architect to storage the data, and but I am in a lot of meetings, so I have to talk with a lot of people. So how to approach this professional that, for example, you that are a data engineer that have a lot of things to do, how these newcomers to the team could approach without disturbing the work of others?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the types of meetings that you're in. So, I mean, meetings are a fact of life in any company. And as an engineer, you think you're going to be doing a lot of engineering work, but that's rarely the case. Like, you're going to have meetings because companies it's a collection of people. So unless you have some sort of a role where you don't need to interact with people, but data is very much a full contact sport, right? I don't see a situation where you don't interact with people, if you have a data role. And so meetings are just a fact of life. I would say just learn to accept it. I would say as well, though, make sure you're in the right meetings that are productive and pushing things forward for providing data to people or understanding the systems you need to build. If you're in meetings that's very unrelated to the goals of your position, then I would ask your manager, like, do I need to be here, or is my time better spent somewhere else? And hopefully if you have a good manager, that manager will help direct your time more efficiently. And if you don't have a good manager, then I guess it'll be answered for you, because you'll just be in meetings all day and not getting any work done. So, but then you got to figure out if that job is or that manager is a good fit for you.
Yeah, you're right. It's like I love this phrase that companies are a collection of people. That's we are human beings, so we are in contact with technology every day, but the real value of the company is the human resources.
And technology That's exactly right. I mean, technology serves, people in the business, and, not the other way around. I mean, I can't see a situation where people are there to serve technology for its own end. I mean, technology always has some sort of an outcome and a purpose, hopefully, but I have seen engineering teams that do just like to work on technology for its own sake. And I suppose if that's something that the company wants to pay for, then I suppose again, there's probably an outcome attached to that, right? You wouldn't just be doing engineering work for the sake of doing engineering work. That is a tendency. Engineers, though, this is a tendency for engineers. They want to do this. It's like, I have engineer in my title, so therefore I should be engineering. But I think what a lot of engineers don't understand, or I think forget, or more to the point, maybe don't want to acknowledge, is engineering ultimately does have to serve a purpose for other people. So
yeah, I think it's like creating an atmosphere of collaboration and a communication. I think is one of the most important skills that should be developed not only in a team but with all the teams, to relate with other teams. And about this, how to build a strong relationship with and between data professionals.
That's a good question. I would understand, what the ways I always do things. I usually go on walks with people, or I go get lunch with them, and I just get to know them as a person. I want to understand what motivates that person, not just for their job, but I think also, as a human, what is your purpose? What do you want to get out of this job and life in general? I think once you understand those motivations, sort of like what motivates a person deep down, a lot of other things fall into place, because then you understand, okay, so this person behaves this way because of, these motivations or these reasons. If you don't have that context, then I think it's really easy to assume a person's behavior is due to, any factors that you're just sort of reading into it. But my thing is, I just get to know people. One, I'm just interested in getting to know people. That maybe that's me, and I think that's a very strange quirk, because I don't see a lot of other people doing this. I would say that the ways you wouldn't want to go about it, maybe that's a better way to do it, because I think, if you treat people very transactionally, you just treat them like they're there to serve your purpose, and everything is simply a one-to-one transaction, and you're keeping score with people. I think that's a really bad way to go about developing relationships with people, data professionals or otherwise, because you have you start developing a reputation as being, like I said, very transactional. And I don't think, do you like dealing with transactional people, Gio? People just want something from you, and
No, it's not something, not because everything is like for example, if I notice that someone is helping me doing my job, it's easier for me when this person asks for me for something, is go and help him or her to do the things easier and achieve their goals, because it's like this is not only a strong relationship, but it's like a teamwork. So because inside a company, maybe we are part of different teams, but at the end, the final goal is the goal of the company. So we are in the same team, different teams, but from a big team that is the company. So, and it's true. And sometimes we feel like just when someone needs something, comes and ask. And another important thing is the way we ask for the information, because we know that we have, as you have said, no, we have, for example, data engineer, they have the power of data. and you know exactly where data is located, and you can help to do things like going faster when people need to have access to data. But at the same time, it's like okay, this is like a bi-directional communication, because data engineers at the same time needs information about how the teams needs the data to do your own work. So I think this is something, and you got the point. So the point is that, so I don't want just to be someone just to send a message
Yeah.
asking for something. And that's because I am the professional who has maybe sometimes, unfortunately, using the power. I want an answer very quickly. So yes, I think there are many examples of companies that they are building strong relationships in this meaningful about the how people is connected in the company. So, and I think data engineers now are not only one of the most hiring professionals, but also because you are helping many teams to achieve their goals, to achieve effective results. So that's something.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, I think the Jim Rome or somebody, I think he had a really good quote, like, you know, you'll get to where you want by helping other people get to where they want to go. And so, you know, and I always try and you know, think of things that way too, and I'm sure you do as well. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's just if you can empathize with people and understand, okay, so like, what are they trying to do? What do they want? It makes it a lot easier to help them, and in turn, you know, reciprocation is a real thing, right? Like you do something for somebody, they naturally want to do something for you, and so, you know, and if they don't, then I suppose that, you know, then that's just a more reflection of their character, and at some point those types of people just burn their bridges, and, you know, not a lot of people want to help them out. But I think if you can be known for, you know, I think giving back and paying it forward, you know, it goes a long ways.
Yeah, this is another important thing, is enjoying what you are doing. So if you are a data engineer, a data analyst, data scientist, so enjoy what you are doing and enjoy being part of a family, because at the end you are part of a company, and everyone needs to see and to reach the goal of the company. So another thing that I was thinking when you were talking is the fact that sometimes we think that for example, in a previous experience, I have this kind of communication with this data engineer or data professional. So I come with the same structure to this new company, and I try to communicate the same way. So what do you think about that?
I don't think it's a good idea. I you know, you got to read the room, right? As they say, and you know, every company has its own style of communication, and I think, you know, and that's very much a cultural thing. And it very much could be the absence of culture as well. That's the other thing, where if a company hasn't instilled a culture, then you know, I guess a self-created culture is foisted upon that company at the same time. And so regardless, every company is different. Every team is different, even within companies, right? There's I think it really depends on the tone that is set either by the manager or the leader, either of the company or of a team, or, like I said, the absence of that leader providing a culture and a way of communicating that happens, I would say, very often, where culture is just sort of assumed, communication is assumed, but then it just sort of you know, creates itself. So, but it's all different. So I think you just got to be really flexible. If you come from a company that's, I would say, very high strung, you know, very aggressive, and you go to a company that's not very aggressive in the way it communicates, you know, for one, I would wonder how you were hired there. That would be kind of weird. Hopefully they, you know, interview for making sure you're a cultural fit. But let's say that you snuck in somehow. I mean, you know, if you have a very aggressive communication style in a place that doesn't work well, then, you know, you're going to run into some pretty big challenges, I would say. So
yeah, no, that's thank you for sharing your experience on that, on your thoughts, because I think, as you have said, every company is different. So when we approach a new company, what is something important is to know about the culture, as you have said. Another thing is understand the process of communication and how is the structure of the company too. And then another thing that you have mentioned is that how to approach the colleagues, because it's not only about the culture, about the processes, it's also about humans. So every person is different. Maybe there are people that love the virtual coffees, to share experience. But maybe there are other people that, okay, send me an email and it's very effective. And maybe there is other people that they only talk during the meetings and that's it. So it's not about just processes. So communication, all these is about people, it's about caring, about sharing, and all these things is part of growing as a professional in a team. So thank you so much for sharing all these behind the scenes about how is the life of a data engineer. But now I'm very curious about what are you doing? I have heard that you are writing a book. Can you share about that?
Yeah, for sure. My business partner at Ternary Data, Matt Housley, and I have been for the past almost year now writing the fundamentals of data engineering. It'll be out in O'Reilly this summer. So, and really, the book is about the fundamentals of data engineering. We feel that this is a topic that I think a lot of people talk about. There's endless amounts of content, articles, podcasts, YouTube videos, and stuff on data engineering. But I've never seen a one resource that really comprehensively talks about the discipline. And so that was our goal with the book, is to kind of end to end talk about what is data engineering, what's a data engineering life cycle, what are the undercurrents of data engineering, and so forth, in such a way that if you're a data scientist, a data analyst, or even a data engineer or a software engineer, or just curious about the field, you can jump in and really understand kind of end to end how it works. And the other thing we wanted to do is write a book that that could stand the test of time. I think it would be easy to write a book that's focused on certain technologies, but what we really wanted to do is take a step back and understand what are the things that aren't going to change over the next, say, 5 years, right? And so that's what the book really focuses on too, or things that are, I think, a bit more permanent or immutable versus, the latest, greatest technologies, which, as you know, in the data space, technology comes and goes extremely quickly. So that's the book. I'm very excited. We're actually just finishing up, the final drafts and manuscripts now. So it's going to be a lot of work from here until the due date. But I'm glad to see that it's almost done.
Awesome. I have seen that you have released some draft of the first chapters, and you are sharing this with the community too. So I invite everyone to go to the Joy profiles on LinkedIn. He has amazing content. But another thing is that he does a Monday data.
Monday morning data chat. It's on YouTube every Monday morning. In the US, at least, we do a data show. Sometimes it's Matt and I talking about whatever's on our mind. Increasingly, we're getting a lot of guests on there. So that's pretty cool. But I mean, the Monday morning data chat really started as, these are the conversations that Matt and I have anyway, just on the phone or just walking around. So, which is kind of funny in itself because it's super nerdy. But it seems to work. But then we're just like, I think a while ago, we're just like, why don't we record these and, see what people think. And it seems to do pretty well. I mean, I think a lot of people like it. We have a regular group of, people who watch our show, and it's fun. I think people also like it because it's kind of a, no nonsense, no BS, views on data. I think there's a lot of fluff in the data world right now. And the show that we have is like anti that. So
and invite everyone to follow and to watch this show, because it's as you have said, there is like a daily things that happen within the data world that anyone talks in any place. So it's like okay, this is the real world. This is the real things that are happening. So okay, thank you so much, Joy. I'm going to leave in the description links to all the things that you are doing, and congratulations for these books. We are waiting for the release of the book.
Me too.
Yes, I think writing a book is not easy, but the satisfaction is like wow. Thank you everyone for watching the Soft Skills Show. If you like, please subscribe and activate the notification for future content. And see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, Joy, again.
Thank
And
you.
see you.
All right. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.